Tatiana Johnson will be taking over as our moderator. I will stop talking. She is all things amazing. She is a true definition of the Renaissance woman. She does all things from being a creative to a DJ to furniture making, and she's currently the director of digital marketing for iHeart Media. And so, Tatiana, thank you so much for moderating this amazing panel around the digital nomad life. So I will pop off and then I will pop on right at the end. Thank you guys again, and sorry for the technical difficulties.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm excited. I was looking forward to this day.
Yes.
First, we'll just go around to everybody. Just give us an introduction of who you are and what you do.
I'll go first. I'm Michael Green. I'm a senior data scientist at Tumblr, also a mathematics professor. And recently, I just started a company called Linnet that's building a tool to help writers outline their novels.
It's that game of like,
Shanita, would you like to go first, my dear?
Okay, I can go. My name is Shanita. I am the founder of a company called Melanin.tech. I am a mediocre salsa dancer. I'm a plant mama. I'm an auntie. And as of tomorrow, I am Michael's roommate.
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. I love it. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Amanda. I am a content creator by trade, but I've been working with a remote working community called Wi-Fi Tribe for the last 3 years, and we travel all over the globe as a group and as a collective. So I've been working with that community for a long time. I enjoy tiaras. I have a tiara right here. I don't know if the Zoom background will allow you to see it, but I also enjoy crafting and giving people lots of cuddles. I am also an auntie to 3 very boisterous nephews who I love and adore.
Love it. Sorry, why the tiaras? And I'll get right to it. Where are you originally from, and what inspires the digital nomad life? I'll start with you, Amanda.
Okay, so I am originally from the UK. I know the question that everyone's really asking me, so I'll answer that as well. So my family are from the Caribbean, and my parents moved over to the UK in various different ages, and they met in the army. But I've, born and raised in the UK. There is a second part to that question. I've already forgotten.
Oh, what made you choose the digital nomad life?
Oh, brilliant question. Yeah, that's a great question. So the digital nomad life kind of chose me. I wasn't really looking for it. I went to university with the one of the co-founders of Wi-Fi Tribe. And I remember I'd done a little bit of blogging in my university days. I'm showing my age now, it's a good 10 years ago. And I did a little bit of blogging, and he used to enjoy it. It was just rubbish. It was like, oh, lipsticks for black people. I mean, it was that kind of nonsense. Yeah. But he never forgot that he enjoyed my writing. So, a good few years later, he was like, look, we're setting this up. Can you help us with the blog? This is what we're about. Can you help? And at that point, I was working in a supermarket and working for a youth charity. I thought, oh, what's the harm in saying yes? Fine. So I said yes, wrote my first blog post whilst I was on an all-inclusive holiday in Jamaica. And I've not looked back. So I kind of transitioned into the kind of digital nomad lifestyle. And this has been it now. The adventure has gone on since that point. That was my 3-year anniversary is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Wow, cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right. And Michael, what about you? Where are you originally from, and what inspired your digital nomad life?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Washington, D.C., in the US. And I guess I started early with having my mind of wanting to be somewhere else. That I studied abroad in college and semester in Australia, semester in France. And then I went to grad school in France. And after that, I moved back to the US and was working. And then when my job, actually at Tumblr, got acquired, and a new parent company, everyone is remote. So pretty much the next day, I was like, wait, we can do this now? Please come out. And so I moved pretty much the next day.
Wow. That's so interesting. Like, wow. That is so, but it's so, like, thinking about it now, like, this is how life is. It's like, it just shows you don't really need an office, but we'll get to that. And what about you, Shanita?
Well, my family's from Chicago. So I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and then I moved to Madison, Alabama at a very early age, which then took me to Atlanta, Georgia for the past 13 years. And today is actually my last day in Atlanta. I'm moving in the morning. But what took me to being a digital nomad? So a breakup took me to being an expat. I had a really bad breakup in 2015. One of the ones where I'm like, you know what? I'm gone. I need a fresh start, all of that. And that took me to Southeast Asia, where I did my first solo backpacking circuit. But then I ran out of money, and I really ran out of money, but I had my laptop. So I was like, well, it's time to start figuring it out. So I became a teacher in Vietnam, but I was also doing digital design online. And that's when I got my first, I guess, digital nomad boots going.
Wow. That's a journey. You got to write a book.
You know what? I just realized the other day that I want to write a book. And it's funny because Michael has this incredible app that's going to assist me in writing my book.
Oh, look, I need that. I'm in the middle of writing a book too, so I need that. And I guess too, Shanita, while we're here, what has been the greatest moment living abroad and being able to just move around?
For me, the greatest moment was when I realized everything I was used to, especially living in Atlanta, was not fulfilling for me. And I realized I didn't have to continue to go back to Atlanta. I didn't have to stay in that rat race. I didn't have to try and show up in a way that's not natural for me. And being a woman who travels, by myself all the time, it also made me understand how brave I really am and also what I'm capable of. So after doing that for so long, I realized the sky really is the limit and nothing can hold me back besides myself. But beyond that, I've met some of the most incredible people, some of my best friends, future roommate abroad. Like Michael and I, we met in Colombia when we were housemates in Medellin. So I've met the most beautiful, creative, empathetic, incredible, brilliant human beings I've ever encountered in my life while being abroad.
That's so cool. Yeah, you got to write a book. And Michael, what about you? What's been the best thing as far as being a digital nomad and being able to just go and work wherever?
Yeah, I think, part of my answer, Shanita, covered half of it. But yeah, I would just second that, I think when you have your life sort of back home, there's a lot of guarantees that you're comfortable with, that you have your family, you have your friends you had from college for many years, you have your coworkers that you make friends with because you're in the same place. But when you shift to being somewhere else, or you're distributed or you're working alone, you sort of flip the script of looking for friends, but you didn't find them. And so that has been, I think, the most rewarding part that, I lived with Shanita for a month. That was it. And that was several years ago, but we still stayed in contact. We haven't been living in the same place since then, but, so I really think just the connections you make with people is really the sort of the best part of living this digital nomad life.
I would agree too. Traveling on your own too just gives you this braveness, I can do anything. And then you come back home, it's you just feel fulfilled. I could do anything. I could walk down the street by myself. Feeling safe in different countries is a whole other feeling. But what about you, Amanda? What's been the best thing about being able to travel and work together at the same time?
Oh, that's such a good question. Okay, so for me, I agree with Michael and Shanita in the sense that I'm a people person. I love building relationships with people, and it's been great to expand. I grew up in a pretty small town. It's so small. It's like a group of towns. I don't know what the population is, but it's small. And it's not just small in terms of population, small in some ways in terms of thinking and in terms of possibility. And I think if you're quite an idealistic person, that can become quite stifling. And so travel, even though I wasn't really looking for it, it's totally opened up so many different things, opportunities, viewpoints, ideas, different people that you meet, that all of that kind of comes together to really impact you in a really profound way. So I think probably one of the greatest moments though for me is the network for me, because I haven't done the solo digital nomad travel thing. I kind of inherited a community, so I've always had a community, but then that just continues to expand. I mean, having a global family, it's insane, and it's like such a wealth of resource, and it gives you access to things. And I think the digital nomad community, the best part about it is that you've got a whole group of generally a particular generation, our generation. And in terms of that social mobility, the rules are off the table. You've got, you'll be somewhere, you'll be in a co-working space, and you could be sitting next to people who are doing, their virtual assistants, and then you're also sitting next to a CEO. And people move, generally the people that I hang out with, I don't know about everyone, but the people that I hang out with move with a kind of humility where you don't actually know that that's what they're like until you talk to them, and you're like, when were you going to tell me that? So yeah, I've absolutely loved that aspect of it, and just being able to see something new and something different than what I've kind of grown up around or grown up with, or even what our families have seen. Like, this is a new frontier in a lot of ways, so I love it.
Yeah, this is totally different from anything that anybody's ever done too. And speaking of that, challenges, Michael, what are some of the challenges that you had to overcome as far as traveling with working and being a digital nomad, and especially in the beginning, what kind of challenges did you combat?
Yeah, I think a lot were, I would say, the like logistical things that sort of when you start, you're able to like start fresh. Like, I have my laptop, I have a place to stay, and you're like, okay, things are fine, I can make this work. But then depending on whether you're, I would say, like a person who changes a lot of different places, or you try to root more in places for a longer period of time, you start to realize that there's so many like cultural things and just like logistical things that I don't know, and you may not have the like easy access to like call your parents of how to write a letter. How does the postal service work here? And for myself, like, a particular thing was that actually a few months ago, my apartment caught fire, and luckily everyone got out safe. But it was like, what are the laws around, responsibility for fire? Because there's certain laws in the US, which I've learned that like in other places, I'm in Mexico now, that some of those rental laws aren't the same. And I took them for granted because I was just used to them my whole life. I never thought to look into them. So it was, so some of the challenges is, researching or knowing that you need to research sort of things that you think are familiar. So that, because a lot of that base knowledge just may not apply.
Especially now, has there been any like big changes there as far as with COVID and different changes that you had to like make sure? Oh, and then make sure attendees too, if you're listening, right? Well, of course you're listening, but put your questions in the chat as well too for our Q&A. But yeah, what about any COVID changes? So I
feel like, at least about my time of me moving here, because I only moved to Mexico in December. So I felt like my life was very similar before COVID as afterwards, because I moved to a new place. I didn't know many people, so I wasn't actually going out that much. Yeah. So I feel like things have been changing a lot outside the city, or outside of my home. But since I'm always inside my home,
right?
I'm not really involved in it.
Like, I'm staying inside. I don't COVID stuff. And what about you, Shanita? What's been some of the challenges that you had to overcome as far as the starting point of being a digital nomad?
Some of the challenges I've run into, definitely logistics, as Michael was saying. Like, you think you have it figured out until you realize that you don't. And that's okay, because you always get over it. It's just like that moment of like, oh, okay. But a few other challenges, even just traveling as a Black woman has been a challenge in some countries. Because you go to some countries to where they have never seen people who look like you anywhere outside of TV. And so you don't really know if the stares are just excitement and curiosity, or if the stares have anything negative behind them. But also, that can be combated with a simple hello, whether it's in your language or theirs. So they know, like, I am here to communicate with you. I'm here to learn. I'm here to exist just as you are. But another challenge I've had that I've talked to people about now, dating as a digital nomad is a little tough at times. Like, I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
you know, because you have some people in certain countries who maybe see Black women or even Black people as like some type of like fetish. Like, I've never had this. I just want to see what it's like. And then there are, you know, can be a language barrier. Some of our terms of endearment and our sarcastic terms and things like that do not translate well in every language. So things can be different there. But yeah, beyond that, I will say every challenge I've ever run into I've been able to figure out, and not even to a point of where I'm almost ready to go home. It's like, no, breathe through it, you know, take a little second. It's gonna be hard because everything's not easy, but it's all doable.
Okay. And then just to say too, you'll be going to Mexico tomorrow. That's where Michael is, right? Michael, you're
Yes.
okay. And then Amanda, what's some challenges? And tell us where you are exactly now too. I want to make sure they know.
Yeah, so I'm currently in the UK. I'm not doing anything exciting. I'm at my mum's house.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, she's great. She's great. I love her. It's not exciting. I will be moving on very soon. To have a few weeks away before Christmas, I'll be going to Gran Canaria. Me with my European passport. Sorry, folks. We have got some folks that are going to be in Mexico though that are there now. So if you're looking out for any Wi-Fi tribe folks, I don't know where you are in Playa del Carmen, lunatics. Anyway, so some of the challenges I think of being a digital nomad, there are a few that come to mind. The first is you've got to be very self-aware, because the capacity, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for you to burn out, okay? Because you have to remember, you're seeing so many new things all of the time that you can almost get like, it's almost like sensory overload. So you have to know yourself really well, or you do get to know yourself very quickly whilst you're traveling anyway. You don't really have much choice. But what that means is that even though you are traveling and you might be moving more frequently than, you know, maybe some of your peers or people that you know, always look to build stability and consistency in what you're doing. Like, what do you need to be happy? What do you need to be productive? So the hardest thing for me was like getting some kind of routine, because I'm you know, super like, if you have to, you know, some of you maybe you run your own business, and so you're very much used to managing your time and all of those things. But for those of you who, you know, maybe are working a job, or that you're doing half and half, at the end of the day, you're traveling. This is a lifestyle choice that you have made, but people still expect their work. And also, if you don't work, you don't pay. So, you know, what do you need to be productive? Do you need to have a co-working space? Is there a particular cafe that you need to go to? Do you need to get your gym sorted? No judgment if you don't want a gym. I don't go to the gym. But if that's what you want to do, then make sure you get that in place. So I'd say that burnout is a tough one. Some digital nomads travel. And then they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. If I don't have somewhere to stay that is mine, I'm going to lose my mind. So, you know, just keep an eye on yourself. Make sure you're always checking in with yourself. Self-care is really important. So I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge is burnout and wanting to throw the towel in because you're fed up.
Yeah, burnout, and just burnout, period. With social media, just different things. You feel like you're looking at the same thing. I've been going through that myself for the past few weeks, and I'm just like, do I want to change, or do I just want to like sometimes
it's hard, yeah.
So that is something. People of color make up a small percentage of the digital marketing and different areas, but what would you say to those that are like thinking about pursuing the digital life, digital nomad life, and just being in tech, period? And you can start, Amanda, since we're still on you. You can go, Amanda.
Oh, good. I've got so much to say about this. I'm kidding. So for people of color that want to live this lifestyle, I would say, you know, absolutely go for it. It's one of the things that, one of the opportunities that don't necessarily come with any strings or weirdness attached to it. It's a whole new thing. So take advantage of the fact that there is not necessarily like an overshadowing in terms of generations that have done it before you and established something. It's still in its early stages, and there is still an opportunity for you to shape this community the way, well, for you to add your own unique flavor to it. So first thing I'd say is get on with it and get going, and find people that can help you out as well, and give you some top tips and tricks. So yeah, at the moment I feel like it might be, I'm not sure, but I feel like awareness is a huge thing. There are people out here doing this, particularly if you know guys. It's so good to see Michael here who's doing this, because predominantly men of color traveling this way it's even less than women of color. Most of the travel info, I had to search, literally trawl through Google to find male travel influencers or digital nomads who are people of color, who are guys. So come on, bring it. It's so new and fresh.
On like YouTube and like particular places to find, because I'm like, I want to hear from a guy's point of view too about traveling. So that goes right to you, Michael. Like, what do you say to people that want to start doing that and start traveling and working with digital, and just people of color just joining that whole industry?
Yeah, I agree with Amanda. It's definitely something that you just need to jump into, because it's something where you really get to you're forced to explore and discover yourself. And I find like the multiple levels of yourself, in the sense of like, what part of me is American? And I recognize that separate from everyone else. What part of me is like Black American? And seeing that against a very different comparison than just like comparing my like Black Americanness versus general Americanness. And so it helps you to start questioning and like thinking about yourself, re-questioning your assumptions and things you think that are normal. So really just being, I would say, like excited about and prepared for sort of that like self-discovery as you discover other places. And I find that if you're out there sort of searching, you find these things and you find these people who are doing the same work, and so that's how you then, make this network of people, because these are all the people who are all searching, asking the same questions. No matter, whatever country I've been in, I've been able to find, people that I resonated with, who may have been local people there, or also other digital nomads there as well. So it's really just, I would say, you really need to set the intention. So, because sometimes I feel like I was in a conversation with a friend, and they was like, well, if my job, suggests that I go abroad, I would do it. And I'm like, but no, that's not you setting the goal. That's you hoping for an opportunity. But if you start looking for opportunities, you'll find something. And then you'll find out how much it really matters to you, because then you will make some adjustment to your life so that you can get it, versus waiting for it to be sort of like a perfectly packaged gift that you're like, oh, I don't have to do any work and it's perfect, So to really be setting that intention and looking for it, so that when something presents itself, you're prepared.
That's so true. Setting intention, that just goes beyond with everything. Like, set the intention and you're going to make sure you hit that goal. Shanita, what do you think too, as far as like getting people that want to start joining the digital nomad life and just traveling as well too? What do you have to tell them?
So I agree with everything that both of them just said, like every single thing. Preparation is key. Yes, preparation is key. That goes with everything. But also change that narrative in your mind. Like, go ahead and start doing that before you even jump into your preparation of wondering if I can, or how hard is it going to be, things like that. We design our own stories. And if you want to do something, you simply have to go forth and do it. And the thing that we get so caught up is like, oh, if I move to this other country, I'm stuck there. No, you're not. If you don't like it, you can go back home, or you can try another country. You're never stuck anywhere. And I think being stuck is a mental thing. So kind of release yourself from that first and foremost. And when it comes to being a digital nomad, I suggest that everyone think a little bit deeper about the tech industry and all the different roles that you have seen in tech. They're not all technical roles. There are so many different jobs and careers within that industry that you can have a fulfilling relationship with your company, and also just with your own personal lives. that require the soft skills, or what people like to call soft skills, that you already obtain. You don't have to learn a lot of new things to obtain some of these jobs that are within this industry. So start searching around, look at the job descriptions, look and see the things that you qualify for, or the things that you aspire to qualify for, and just apply. You know, we have a perfect example of the person who is now in office who is underqualified for his job, but he still applied for it, he still went for it. And that does show you have to go for it. You just have to.
No matter what. Yeah. And then I'm thinking too, like with so much going around the world, like here, I'm in Nashville now, and I've seen it from the tornado we had here to COVID, and then to a whole movement as far as Black Lives Matter, how a lot of these small businesses were about to lose. Well, they did lose a lot of money during the time because of COVID, but then it went way back up because everybody kind of, I'm going to say it, they hopped on the bandwagon of, you know, Black Lives Matter. How has that affected y'all's travels and like protests and anything like that? You can start, Shanita.
Well, so I've been in Atlanta this entire time. I've been in Atlanta for the past year and a half. So I've been very active in the community and with my protest, and my company is a protest within itself, because we do preach on Black liberation and development and education within the tech industry. So I've definitely been, you know, boots to the ground with it. And it has been a little bit difficult for me to leave tomorrow. Usually when I'm leaving, it's a very joyous occasion. I'm so excited, but it does feel different to leave the country that my family is in, that I know and love. And I know why I'm leaving. It's not just because I'm looking for my next adventure. It's not just because I'm bored. It's because I feel like I have to at this point. I feel more comfortable outside of this country than I do inside of it. But it is a little nerve-wracking to know that I'm going somewhere that I think will genuinely make me happy and be able to embrace my creativity again, but to know that my family is still here. So I'm not even sure if I've answered the question, but it's been a very interesting time.
Yeah, it is. Michael, what about you? How have you faced anything, like any protests around you in Mexico? How has it been down there?
I mean, actually, I think there's been a mix of like, because there were some sort of like Black Lives Matters adjacent protests in Mexico, but more similarly about like police brutality here. But I think additionally, in the context of not me being as aware of like what's going on in Mexico, because I'm just like following mostly what's in the US. So like it might have, things that have happened, you know, someone told me, they're like, oh, did you go to the protest? I was like, oh, I saw it outside, but I was like, I don't know what they're doing. I'm going this other way. I'm going to stay away and stay safe. But so I felt like I've been a bit more like disconnected, but I've been feel like trying to stay involved through even just through conversation and discussion with people, and actually like conversations I've been getting with with other Black people who are here in Mexico with me, that, you know, was really, we were sort of like ruminating on the idea that sort of being a digital nomad is that there's some like exploration and creativity in us, but that we need to also use that power to bring back change back home. That we get the benefit that we do get to go somewhere else where there's different, you know, expectations and norms of us, and we get to avoid some of the things that may bother us at home, but we don't lose our responsibility to, you know, take this freedom to dream up new solutions and, you know, bring that back home as we can.
That's true. And Amanda, what about you? Have you seen any in the UK? Like, how has it been over there, the climate, as far as it's going, as far as Black Lives Matter and protesting?
Yeah, so obviously the UK, I know that everyone likes to distance themselves from what is going on in America, but the reality is it's two sides of the same coin. The statistics that you guys have in the States bear out similarly in the UK in terms of you know, interactions with police and all of those things. So yeah, the climate here has been difficult on one hand, and people have been opening up on the other. I don't think I have ever had such frank conversations with people about identity, essentially, what it means, how it impacts us, how it affects our perceptions of others. As a digital nomad, it's been a really interesting time, because seeing how the community are dealing with it and how they are taking it forward, I've got to say that in terms of how open people are, I've been really impressed with what I have seen in terms of digital nomads and their views. Now, you're going to get bad apples in every group and in every bunch, but the heartening thing is that actually people are like, why are you like this? No one's listening to you. Why are you even here? Like when people act out or they act funny. So I've got to say, in the UK, I mean, it's the same old stuff. Oh, Black Lives Matter. No, all lives matter. Oh my God, shut up. Like, whatever. But what I am really, really, kind of impressed by, and it kind of keeps me going, is seeing that there's been something different about this particular conversation. Like, people are open and people are looking into it. I think maybe it's because we're all miserable because of the coronavirus, and so it's, we've rediscovered our humanity, as it were. And I'm seeing that in the digital nomad community as well. They're probably more informed than me.
Yeah.
Why? they're doing pretty well. And people ask me questions like, can I say black? No. Yes. Yeah, I'm kidding. They know what I'm like. I'll just, it's fine. So yeah, it's been really good. But the travel definitely gives you a little bit of a breathing space, guys. I really think that there's something to be said for, as a sometimes growing up and the color of your skin, being a black person, there's trauma. That's a trauma in itself, sometimes constantly walking under the weight of people's expectations of you. And I think travel gives you an opportunity to breathe and to think, who am I outside of those expectations?
Yeah.
Where people don't expect me to be a certain way. I can be black and vegan if I want to be black and vegan. I can, decide that I enjoy classical music, ballet and cross stitch. I don't have to enjoy, hip hop and whatever. Like, you give yourself the opportunity to be free of some of those stereotypes and discover what you like, and discover who you want to be outside of all of those expectations. So
that's so cool. And then work-life balance, because how have y'all been as far as the times I've realized I've had to give myself major breaks, during the protests and during so many killings, and I had to write about it. So I'm like, I need a week, at least a minimum of a week, to just clear my mind and not think. Have y'all had time to do things like that? Have you gave yourself kind of breaks during those times when it seemed like it just got really, really bad at one time? It was just Shanita, have you because I know you were in Atlanta too, so have you give yourself some breaks?
Yes and no. For me, a huge stressor was my full-time job that I had. I was working at a company for 3 years, and I recently quit so I can take on my company full-time. So eliminating one of my problems, or eliminating one of the things that just didn't fit in my life anymore, has given me a much needed mental, emotional, and spiritual break from that side of things. Have I been able to take a break from real life? I haven't. I'm not even gonna lie and say I've been excellent with my self-care, because I haven't. Being a full-time entrepreneur has been a little difficult, a lot of difficult during this time, and still trying to go to therapy and still trying to balance things out. But I have to get better at that. And that's another reason why I am excited to leave, because I do know I do so much better with my well-being. I put myself before anyone and everything when I'm not here. So I'm excited to get back to that.
That's good to hear. I'm inspired just by hearing that. You can do everything for yourself too. You count. Michael, what about you? Have you been able to take any breaks?
I think sort of a personality thing that I need to work on is that I'm always doing a million things. That, yesterday actually was my birthday. And everyone was like, oh, what did you do? I was like, well, I worked my job at Tumblr. I wrote for 4 hours on my book. I worked on my app, and then I did something else. I was like, what I do every day. I was like, what do you? I was like, oh yeah. I was like, it's my birthday. I guess I should take some time off. So I think that's actually something that I need to work on. That I can, because I'm very easily excited So I'm excited about all the things I'm doing, but I can still sometimes just not recognize that I need just take some time to do nothing. That's very difficult for me. But so that's definitely something that I need to work better at.
I have a book literally called How to Do Nothing, and I still don't know how to do it. I tried it, but I was like, I don't even know I'm reading. This is doing something. I don't know. Amanda, what about you? Have you been able to take a break?
Yes, I've been able to take a break. I did. A friend of mine was like, okay, you need to take some time off because you need some time off.
Yeah.
So I had a few days off a little while ago. But in terms of being at home or being, let's just call it at home, rest looks different than when you are traveling, I feel. And there is, there's kind of doing nothing. If you're the kind of person that cannot sit and do nothing, I'm quite happy to sit and do nothing. I'm great with that. But actually, there is a thing around active rest. Now, the easiest way to do that is find some friends. Friends will always force you to take a break from working. For me, as a community kid, there's lots of things that I probably wouldn't do if I didn't have like a group of people, my friends around me, to say, okay, so what we're going to be doing is we are going away for the weekend. Who has booked the villa? Who has booked the transport? And then you get there and the Wi-Fi is rubbish. You have to sit next to the router. So what do you end up doing? You end up relaxing by the pool, doing somebody's yoga class. I don't do yoga, I watch. But do someone's yoga class and chill out. So in terms of work-life balance, that is going to be different for everybody. And if you're super passionate about what you're doing, then, work becomes play and play becomes work and all of that stuff. So as long as you know that your mental health is sound and that you're doing what you need to do to maintain that, you should be fine. But I managed to take a break. It does take me a good couple of days to settle down though. Notifications coming in. Have you seen this? What's it? And then you're outraged. Like, no, don't upload that to the thing. Why are you this way? And you're supposed to be on holiday. Yeah, I get it. I mean, those things don't leave you once you become a digital nomad.
It's like automatic. And we're going to take some questions from the audience here, the attendees. First one, do you have any thoughts as to how you anticipate the world to potentially change with this digital revolution and remote working we are seeing accelerating with the global pandemic? Everything is changes with this COVID. So do you see anything as far as like maybe concrete that's going to kind of stay?
I'll jump in on this one. I think so my company before we switched to remote just before COVID started. So we were already starting the process of how does your company change internally with this different structure, changing to more asynchronous communication, which I love and it's amazing, where it's less meetings, where everyone has to really do so much FaceTime, where you just get into the meeting, you just look at the people, to show that you're working. There's a lot of this extra labor you do to just convince people you're working. But when you are able to shift to this, it would really change the work structure, which gives a lot more flexibility back to you, that, you're able to process things before you have to respond. You don't have to be on all the time, which can be stressful for a lot of people, but you get a chance to read. Someone wrote up, a 2-page document that you read that and then you give your reply. You're able to research something before you respond. So I think these learnings that other companies are picking up will actually change how they function. And I think this would then ripple out various other changes, even in the, I would say industries that don't have as strong health benefits or people being able to take time off, that companies are going to be more cognizant of that, because now they're afraid, so if they're like, we'll give you sick leave, don't come in. We don't want to see you. So I do think that heightened fear will actually bring about some better benefits really for people.
I think so too. Ladies, y'all have anything to add to that?
I've got a couple of thoughts about this actually, Tatiana. So obviously, I totally agree with you, Michael. I feel like companies are going to change how they, in terms of company benefits and all of that stuff on a global scale. And from what I have seen, what I anticipate is going to happen is that obviously the tourism industry has taken a massive hit, and we all know that that's going to take however long to recover, because until we can either find a way, kind of concrete way that we agree how we're going to manage COVID-19, people are going to be, apprehensive about traveling. So I think the next best thing that they're going to do to get people moving is they're going to start designing visas specifically for digital nomads that will give digital nomads leave to be able to stay in various different places, and you enter in on that visa. Now, I think I want to say Estonia has got something like that. There's a really small, tiny little country called Georgia, and they've got, like a thing you can stay for a year. Barbados, they've got like a digital nomad visa. So what I think is going to happen is the world is going to open up in the sense that, because I know that Jania's question talking about what happens for people that don't have strong passports. So that is a thing that I'm looking into at the moment. People have, I've got a British passport. One of the reasonably decent is a strong passport. Japanese, they've got a strong passport. European passports, American passports. You can pretty much get anywhere. But for a lot of people, that's actually a privilege that they don't have. They have to jump through hoops to get visas. They're expensive, all of that stuff. And I think that governments are going to start removing barriers for that, and giving digital nomads a way to travel with not less restrictions, but just a kind of greater understanding of the fact that we live a nomadic lifestyle. So that's what I see evolving. Hopefully places, like, the African continent can forge ahead and pioneer those things, because it would be, would be absolutely wonderful for people to move forward with that. So that's what I think is going to happen. Because they're going to need to fill up those all-inclusive hotels somehow.
Yeah,
right? I volunteer as tribute.
Anita, what about you? What do you see going on in the future as far as the digital nomad life, as far as offices and companies changing?
So I agree with both of them. And there are some things that you said, Amanda, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is going to happen. I think the only thing I would add is, I think companies are going to begin to change a lot of things about their culture, in addition to what Michael was saying. And also because there is a lot of white supremacist characteristics that's embedded, especially into the tech industry. One of those things being sense of urgency and perfectionism, things like that. I think we're all seeing a shift, because now a lot of us are working from home with our families, or unreliable Wi-Fi, whatever the case may be. And we don't have the time or the resources to deliver something perfect without any flaws, but that product still may need to be pushed. Whatever it is still has to be pushed, still has to go live. So I think we're understanding now that our expectations and this excellence bar that we set at companies is kind of crap, and we don't need to put humans through that type of turmoil just to have a job that pays for what they need. And I think that sense of urgency thing is going away. Like Michael was saying, async is the new way to go. It's been the way to go. It is quite incredible to communicate that way. But I think everyone's now starting to see, like, okay, this is our only way, and it's just fine. We're still getting by. We didn't need all the other crap that we had before. So I predict a lot of code of conducts and employee plans, and I just predict a lot of that changing from the fact of the employee making the leadership change it, because a team is nothing without a company is nothing without their team.
Yep, say it. And then here's another question. As a woman, when you first decided to make the leap to travel abroad, did you travel with someone first, or did you go alone?
I can hop on this one. So my first time was to Thailand, and I went alone. I had a return trip just in case I didn't like it, or if I chickened out, which is totally fine too, if that would have happened. So I did have my plan A, or I guess plan B, if I needed to go back home. And my first couple of nights, I was terrified. I was scared. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I didn't know Thai language at all. I went to Bangkok, so luckily there were just a hodgepodge of wonderful expats there and people who spoke English, but it was terrifying. And it was terrifying until it became liberating and beautiful, which only took a matter of a couple of days. Once I realized that, it's not what everyone else made me feel like. It's not that scary. It's not like everyone's out to get me. Like, you have to be on swivel, but you have to be on swivel in your home countries too. Once I realized that people actually weren't out to get me, and that, I wasn't about to be on this next episode of XYZ, and I was there, I was doing exactly what I said I wanted to do. It became such a beautiful experience after that. And then I was thankful that I went alone, because I'm also a tourist, and if I want to do something, I want to do it. I don't really care about your ideas right now. So I didn't have to worry about that pressure of someone else bringing their opinions and their ideas and their sometimes even ignorance into my plan. And I could just be free and just go. And it was great.
That is such a feeling. Just to go. I'm not waiting on nobody.
Yes.
Amanda, what about you?
So I went, when I started traveling, I didn't go on my own, but it was weird because I met up with my teammate who I'd only ever spoken to on video call. And my first ever digital nomad trip, proper for work type stuff, was to Italy. Thank God he's Italian, because that made my life much easier. So yeah, I traveled with a community instead, because that was the opportunity that was presented to me. So that is what I did. And it's great because obviously, Shanita, you are incredibly brave. And the thing with solo travel is it absolutely teaches you to be open again. Yeah, because we're so used to being is this person going to be racist today? Is this person going to be misogynist today? Are you just going to be a jerk today? I don't know. And you're so used to being on guard, you don't realize how closed off you are. And solo travel definitely forces you kind of out of your shell in that sense, because you have to be able to interact with people to be able to just do basic things. When you go with a community, you can ease yourself in a little bit. It's a little bit gentler, because you kind of turn up with friends. That's the joy of having people around you that are you have a community that is values based. Yeah, you agree with those values, you can kind of guarantee that people aren't going to be completely awful when you meet them, so you can ease your way in. But yeah, I traveled with people. I think there were 24, 25 people in that group that time. We had a blast, and it was a great way for me to learn the travel ropes. I mean, I my first ever trip, I took a suitcase that you could fit 4 children in. So you imagine I'm trying to wheel this giant pink suitcase through the medieval cobbled streets of Florence. I looked a fool, but at least I had friends there to back me up and help me lift that thing up 90 stairs, because there wasn't an elevator. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Gotcha. And we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to throw it over to Ashley now. Is she going to back on here? Where'd she go? There she goes.
Yeah. Magically appeared. Thank you so much. You guys were amazing. I was literally taking notes for myself in regards to being able to have new experiences and what that all entails. So thank you guys for being so open, so transparent. And I hope everyone that attended today really gleaned a lot of cool stuff in regards to your own abroad trip. And just being in tech. So thank you to each one of you. Thank you, Tatiana, for moderating this panel, and wishing everyone a great rest of your day. Again, this is our last talk, but please stay tuned, because we will have some really cool things coming up that you can stay connected to, especially around obviously tech and just living and thriving in regards to finding new career opportunities within tech and all that good stuff. So again, wishing you guys all the best, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you guys so much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.